Tax audit simply refers to the examination of the books of the taxpayers
Yes.
by the tax authority for the purpose of testing the level of compliance of
Yes.
such taxpayer with the provisions of the Nigerian tax law. And the reason for this is not far-fetched. In Nigeria, the type of scheme that we practice is what is known as the self-assessment scheme, which means that you as a taxpayer,
Yes.
you need to determine what your income is,
Exactly.
determine what your tax is, and then come and file, remit the tax and file your returns. So it's not just logical that from time to time the tax authority would, test or review the level of compliance of what you have actually been filing.
Or rather, the level of trust.
The level, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
the level of trust, the level of truthfulness.
It's both ways.
Okay.
The tax law has given that benefit to the taxpayers to self-assess himself
Yes.
and remit based on what you determine to be your tax. Then it's also to make the equation balance. It also allows the tax authority to also review from time to time your level of compliance if you have actually done what is expected of you.
Okay. So because why I'm asking that question is a lot of taxpayers, like you said, we have the self-assessment system in Nigeria where the taxpayers allow you to determine what you think is fair as tax and remit as at when due. But at the end of the day, a lot of taxpayers feel, okay, so I've done this, which is expected over the year, and I've paid my taxes, I've been compliant every month, I ensure that those taxes were filed and payments being remitted to the tax authority. Then at the end of the year, you still come back and say, let's carry out tax audits. So a lot of people don't understand. So just like you did make mention of it, that is equally necessary for the tax authority to verify if what the taxpayers has actually remitted is adequate
Yeah,
and true,
yeah,
and if they truly be compliant, because you can say you are compliant and you are not.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so what is the procedure? But first, is tax audit, is it backed by the law?
Absolutely. Tax audit is backed by the law. In fact, the provision of the law is that the tax authority is allowed to carry out this exercise for the last 6 years.
Wow.
You understand? So what it means is that if you have been doing a self-assessment filing for a period of time, and at any point in time the tax authority picks up your records with them, they have that mandate, and it's entrenched in the tax law, that they can review and check your level of compliance up to the last 6 years.
Wow.
You understand? That's the provision of the law.
Okay. So what is the procedure for tax audits? There must be a start point to a finish point.
Absolutely. The procedure depends on issue. In Nigeria, we have two main tax authorities.
Exactly, the federal.
At the federal level, we have the Federal Inland Revenue Service. Then we have the various states' internal revenue services.
But for the benefit of my taxpayers, I would rather we deal with the states because that is more closer to the people. The tax audits that occur at the state level.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Like I said, since the law allows the tax authority to to carry out this exercise.
Yes.
Internally, each state tax authority determines who it wants to audit.
Okay.
Based on their own internal process or risk assessment procedure.
Okay.
Now, once that is done, the first thing that usually happens is that a notification to carry out that exercise, to carry out a tax audit exercise, is sent to the taxpayer.
Okay.
You understand? That's the first interaction in that regard.
The first scare that comes to the taxpayers, because most often when companies receive that notification, some of them do panic, especially the new ones, and they start consulting, they start asking questions, is anything wrong? The tax authorities are coming. Because to be honest, once we hear audits in Nigeria, whether it's internal audit or external audit, it just send that fear down our spine. So I can understand the fear of the taxpayers when they hear tax audit. So it actually starts with
it starts with the notification. And there is really no need for the taxpayer to panic, especially if you are a taxpayer that has been complying.
Yes.
Even under the self-assessment scheme, you've been assessing you've determined your income, you've determined the tax, and you are filing and remitting as at when due. Yes. You understand? So there's no need to pay. It's the procedure. You will receive a notification. That's the first thing. Okay. Now, depending on the date, the proposed date for the exercise, and the time with you received the letter, there may be need to request for
certain documentation.
No, there will be need for documents. But I'm even saying that there may be a need to reschedule the dates. If, for instance, you get the letter today, and the letter is saying, "Oh, I'm coming for an audit tomorrow," there's no way you as a taxpayer will be ready at that point. So there may be a need to communicate to the tax authority that, okay, I just got this letter from you, and I will need 1 week to get ready for this audit. You understand? But it's important that you communicate back to the tax authority so that they don't know that, yes, you are
formally,
yes, formally. It's critical that they know that you are getting ready for the exercise. Okay. Then after that, it's important that the taxpayer gets ready the documents that would be examined. Usually, accompanying the letter, there's a list of information required for the
documents.
From the documents required to be reviewed attached to the letter. So the taxpayer needs to put those documents together and get them ready for the tax authority. Because the tax law empowers the tax authority to carry out this exercise. It would not be fine not to have them ready before they come around. Okay. So once you have the documents ready, you've agreed a time. Usually they come in for the field or the exercise. They come into the premises of the taxpayer to review the documents. And then carry out their own review and checks and request for copies of some documents. Understand? Now, depending on the size of the taxpayer and the volume of business and complexity, that will determine how long
the tax audit
will last. Okay. But at the end of that period, there is usually, at the beginning, there's usually an opening meeting, really, which is critical.
The pre-audit meeting.
Pre-audit meeting. That the taxpayer and the tax authority or the tax auditors will have together to. Usually, the tax auditors would introduce themselves and the purpose of the exercise. And get familiar with the business of the taxpayer. I think it's also critical. And at the end of the field exercise too, there's a closeout meeting.
So that is the procedure from the point you receive your notification to the list of requirements that is required for you to prepare for the tax audit, to the time you have some form of maybe like 2 weeks. I understand that is usually 2 weeks from the date you receive that letter, and then it's expected that you put all your documentation together. There are some companies that hire the services of consultants to handle their tax audit exercise on their behalf, and that is where Andersen Tax comes in. So you have been offering the services to the Nigerian taxpayers as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it would be important to state that having a consultant handle your tax affairs
Yes.
is not a luxury.
Okay.
You understand? Because sometimes the complexity of the whole exercise
Yes.
might require some form of first parties, especially where the
Yes.
company does not have resources internally
Yes.
dedicated for that
A
purpose.
special skill.
You understand? So it's important to let a professional that is familiar with the process handle that and handle the relationship with the tax authority. Because sometimes tax authorities, get frustrated when they are asking questions and not getting
That
appropriate feedback,
that they need.
which might not be intentional at times.
Yes.
Might be because of the fact that the taxpayer does not understand what the tax authority require, and there's an expectation gap.
Yes.
But that will manage effectively when you have a tax consultant on ground to do that.
Okay, so I would advise our taxpayers, if you can afford a good tax consultant, it's very important to put your book in orders and help you handle your tax affairs, especially during the tax audit exercise. Let them help you put all your documentation together, represent you properly in engaging the tax authorities in order for you not to fall out or miss out on some of the incentives that you can enjoy as a taxpayer. Furthermore, I would like to add that some companies during tax audit exercise, they don't like to release some documentation for tax audit exercise. I don't know for what purpose. So have you ever had such encounter where maybe your client is not willing to release maybe their bank statements to the auditors during this exercise?
Yeah, I know it's common in practice,
Yes.
that that fear exists, or or I would say, for a lack of a better word, that confusion.
Yes.
You understand? Because the law actually empowers the tax authority to request for any information
Yes.
in assessing the level of compliance of the
Okay.
taxpayer.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes.
And in some instances, it makes it unlawful for the taxpayer to withhold information
Exactly.
for the taxpayer for the tax authority. You understand?
Okay.
So it won't be in the best interest of the taxpayer to deliberately withhold any information
from the
tax authority. Because even if you don't provide that information, the tax authority is empowered to use its best of judgment. There's a provision in the law.
I'm going to come to that best of judgment thing.
To use it. Okay, well, I'll stick there to that.
Okay.
But if you don't provide information, the tax law empowers the tax authority to use its best of judgment in certain circumstances.
Yes.
You understand? So I think in order not to elongate the process or the exercise, it's better to just release the required information. Okay? And even for some taxpayers, withholding information is actually criminal. It's not appropriate.
Exactly.
Okay? It's not appropriate. But it's better if you let your tax consultants in, because he will be able to educate you appropriately.
Yes.
And guide you appropriately on that.
Okay. So I was going to ask why some companies are deliberately trying to withhold and push back during the tax audit side, withhold some documents from the tax authorities. Some companies honestly lack proper documentation. For such companies that lack proper documentation, you go there and you request for, where are your ledgers, or where are your cash books or something, invoices, bank stuff, and they're telling you we don't have. And then you get to find out that some of these companies, they even pay their staff salary by cash, which is not even allowed. So how do you, and most often at the end of the day, just like you did mention, the best of judgment comes from the tax authority, because the tax authority gets to like that level of frustration, and they don't have any documentation to work with, and they just throw in that amount at the taxpayers and say, okay, using the industry average, this is what you should pay. But my question is, if a taxpayer is honestly does not have, or they lack that education, lack proper documentation, is there any way that situation can be salvaged?
I would want to say that based on the provision of the law.
Yes.
I want to start with this. Based on the provision of the law, the onus of proof is on the taxpayer.
Okay.
You understand? To prove to the tax authority that this is my income.
Yes.
These are my expenses.
Yes.
And these are the evidences. The onus of proof is on the taxpayer.
Okay.
Now, two, you are very correct. There are genuine cases where taxpayers don't have adequate documentation. Maybe the company or the business has moved from one location to another, and in the process of moving, some documents are lost in transit, or the system crashed, they could not recover some information.
Some don't even have.
And some don't even have proper documentation, because they don't know that, or they are not aware that they are supposed to keep that documentation.
Yes.
But what usually happens is that the tax consultant would usually assist the taxpayer in explaining this situation to the tax authority.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
And this is how one might go about it. There are several ways to prove a particular line of income or a particular expense to the tax authority, of a transaction to the tax authority. Okay?
Yes.
So if you don't have any internal documents,
Yes.
okay, there are external documents that will probably exist.
Okay.
You understand? There are some transactions that has passed through the bank. You understand? Okay, but the internal documents to evidence that I don't have that available. Okay, I've paid my staff salary, but the records, the various record-based slip and the rest, I don't have them, because I don't believe I should be keeping their detail.
Yes.
But okay, I can show you the transfer I made to their various accounts from my bank statement. You understand? And the letters I used to employ them is available to verify the agreed salary. Okay, so some level of evidence can also be provided.
Can still be provided,
yes,
to salvage
the situation.
To salvage the
Yeah,
situation.
and then the tax authority can be able to revise its position accordingly.
Okay.